thank to you all. Thank, first of all, to our kind host. And sorry for my English. I just read today, so I hope not to be so boring after lunch. My lecture today is linked with the last of this morning, because this morning we heard about God and politics. And I try to show how the appearance of the Pope is very important to show his power. And of course the Pope insignia particularly. So, after Cesare Borgia, Machiavelli's ideal prince was Pope Julius II. He who cut Borgia's ambitions down to size once and for all, and who committed himself to the reconquest of the Papal States. It's common knowledge that, for Machiavelli, Julius II, Giuliano della Rovere, even became the model of the fortunate prince, because, thanks partly to the brevity of his pontificate, his virtue, his impetuosity, was in perfect harmony with the strategic context in which he had to act. His energetic and terrible nature, so admired by Machiavelli, does not, however, emerge in the best known image of this pontiff. It has the famous portrait painted in 1512 by Raffaello, now in the National Gallery of London, celebrated by Vasari as very alive and true. The Pope appears with a rather more imperious expression in a crypto-portrait that Raffaello himself executed 3 years previously, which portrayed with his likeness his no less determined predecessor, St. Gregory the Great, in the Disputation of the Sacrament, frescoed in what at that time was the Pope's library. And there is no doubt that the heightened grandeur owes a great deal to Julius' different attire. While in the official portrait, Julius II wears a mozzetta, and that is this kind of vest. And the pontifical cap known as Camauro, as Manzoni said. In the great fresco, he showed dressed in the liturgical robes of solemn ceremony. It is in cope, cope and Tiara. It's no coincidence that during the campaign for the consolidation of papal power in his territories, when he entered Bologna on Sunday, the 22nd September 1510, after Vespers, he did so very solemnly with the regno on his head and the papal mantle. The regno is, in fact, a tiara, originally a tall conical hat with a golden circlet around its base, transformed towards the 10th century into a crown called the regnum. It's okay. This, the first one, the base. But in the 13th century, would be surmounted by intended points. Under Pope Boniface VIII, a second crown was added to the structure, and a third was added at the time of the Avignon papacy, as we can see in this portrait of Clement V in the Cappellone di Spagnoli in Florence, so in the middle of the 14th century. And you see 1, 2, 3 crown. And this is where the name Triple Crown comes from. Maybe being unable to bring the Holy See back to Rome, the pontiff wanted at least to reinforce the visual aspect of papal authority. The significance of triple authority was made explicit in the coronation ceremony when the tiara was placed on the head of the Supreme Pontiff, and the Cardinal Protodiacon reminded him that he was receiving it because he was the father of princes and kings, rector of the orb, vicar of Jesus Christ, our Savior on earth. But unlike the crowns of secular rulers, which passed from one generation to the next to symbolize the passage of power, the popes renewed, completely or in part, the tiara at the moment of their election, sometimes even producing others in the course of their reign. The use of the triple crown was, however, given emphasis only in the middle of the Renaissance by Pope Paul II, pontiff from the 1464 to the 1471, and known to be a lover of pomp, outward magnificence, and art, who had a triple crown made for himself that was more precious and more richly bejeweled than those of any of his predecessors, being valued at 180,000 scudi, and so heavy that he had to have another, more portable one made. But for his coronation, which took place on 26th November 1503, Julius II did not consider even Paul II's tiara rich enough. And he immediately had another one made, as was recorded by the Papal Master of Ceremonies, Giovanni Burcardo, in his Liber Notarum in the entry for December the 5th. In Latin, but in translation, I received the new triple crown that His Holiness had made with about 7 libra of precious gems. Evidently, the beautiful triple crown with which he came back to the palace the week before after the coronation. But in 1507, Ludovico Camposampiero, Francesco Gonzaga's envoy at the papal court, reported that he had seen Julius II with another new triple crown, smaller than the other one, taller and not so heavy, but with a higher value owing to its jewels and its pearls of such an astonishing size that its total cost was 200,000 ducats, equivalent to a third of the Papal State's annual income, at a time when a curate received 25 ducats a year. Julius II solemnly blessed the new tiara on Easter Day of that year, and on that occasion, as well as the 2 tiaras, 2 wonderfully ornate mitres, and the 3rd, simple one, were displayed before him. This morning, the Pope blessed the new tiara, which he himself had made in the likeness of the ancient tiara that the sacred memory of Sixtus IV, his uncle, had made new. So, from this information, the physical appearance of this second tiara would seem to correspond to that of the one judged to be of rare magnificence and valued at 110,000 florins, that Julius' uncle had ordered in 1483 from the Venetian jeweler Bartolomeo di Tommaso, and with which he had appeared in public that same year, possibly the same we saw in the same frescoes by Raffaello. You see, in the back again, of course, Julius as Gregory, and in the first his uncle Sixtus. So, and even the same maybe, and if you see, look just the same, no? But maybe is the same we can see in the sculpture by Pollaiolo and in the coin of the same Pope. But this Tiara had then been pawned straight after the death of the Pope, the following year. So it's impossible that Raffaello saw the true first Tiara. However, if Pope Sixtus IV had allowed 12 years to pass from his coronation before placing his own Tiara alongside that of his predecessor Paul II, the passion for these precious insignia seems to have been a personal predisposition of Julius II, as is highlighted by a direct testimony that dated July 1st, 1511, when a correspondent of the Marchesa of Mantua, Isabella d'Este, Stazio Gadio, wrote, "His Holiness finds great pleasure in contemplating the goldsmith's works. Yesterday he had brought to him from Castel Sant'Angelo the 2 triple crowns, of which one is worth 200,000 ducats and the other 100,000. I don't believe that more beautiful examples of the goldsmith's art will ever be seen with so many pearls and gems." That is what Isabella d'Este read in the report by her envoy. That same year, on the occasion of the 9th anniversary of his election, his master of ceremonies, Paris de Gracis, recorded that the Pope wanted to wear his Tiara. And when I told him, it's better, yeah. When I told him that that was irregular, he laughed and replied that he had had it made for himself and not for me, and had spent 200,000 ducats to enjoy it and use it whenever he and not I saw fit. The documents tell us that this second Julius Tiara was created by Caradosso, a prestigious Lombard goldsmith with customers like Ludovico il Moro, Isabella d'Este, or Federico Gonzaga, and from 1505 active in Rome for the papal court, firstly for Julius II, then for Pope Leo X, Adrian VI, and Clement VII. But the inscription, you can see, Anno Septimo Julius Ligur. That inscription that is inlaid with diamonds around the base is an addition that the Pope had done in 1510, the 7th year of his pontificate, of course, by the Genoese master Lorenzo Grossi, his usual jeweler, as is confirmed by comparison of the descriptions contained in an inventory of 1510 and in another of 1570. The object has been lost, but as you can see, thanks to an accurate watercolor drawing executed at the beginning of the 18th century and accompanied by a long caption, we can fully analyze its material and symbolic identities, and, what is more, distinguish its appearance from that of the supposed model of Sixtus IV's Tiara depicted in the above-mentioned funeral monument. Its creator was, the drawing of course creator, was Francesco Bartoli, and it was commissioned by the erudite English architect John Talman, first director of the Society of Antiquaries in London, who traveled in Italy from the very beginning of the 18th century till 1717. And this drawing is one of hundreds commissioned by Talman for a planned collection of liturgical insignia. This is the first page. This book are now in Chatsworth and Getty Library, of course. And the drawing of the Tiara is completed by of the infula, and thanks to these two drawings, we have a record of this lost object. And the caption, the long caption, tell us something also about its history. I mean, evidently, since Talman saw it at the beginning of the 18th century, it's not melted down, as is sometimes maintained, in 1527, together with other pontifical jewelry to pay the 400,000 ducats asked for Clement VII by the troops of Charles V in ransom, but actually embellished later by Pope Gregory XIII with the addition of an exceptional emerald. You can see just on the top here, 400 carats. And incidentally, is the only relic of all these treasures of the Vatican Apostolic, sorry for the, but it's this dimension. Is the only relic of this treasure of the Vatican Apostolic Sacrarium still preserved today, because Napoleon, having taken it to Paris, where he had earmarked it for the Musée d'Histoire Naturelle, had it remounted by, you see there, by the goldsmith Henri Auguste in the triple crown that he gave to Pius VII in 1804 to celebrate both his marriage to Josephine and his coronation as Emperor of France. The Tiara, designed by Caradosso, is a jeweled headdress, okay, in which the conventional inclusion of the three crowns seems to disappear, you see. Being limited to 3 circlets of gold devoid of points and projecting rosette. Instead, you can see here in the new one. A detail that was not to appear perspicuous so that a simple sculptural reproduction could be obtained, given that in the celebrated funeral monument designed by Michelangelo, the portrait of the deceased by Tommaso Boscoli, reintroduced the Tiara scene in the fresco by Raffaello. But this begs the question as to why Pope Julius II asked the Goldsmith for something that did not follow the established iconography and was therefore less emblematic. He, of all people, committed to the reaffirmation of the temporal power of the popes, which in the Triple Crown had perhaps its most grandiloquent symbol, and which was, unsurprisingly, the butt of great criticism during the Protestant Reformation. As images in this context are never merely ornamental, but have concrete significance, I think one can surmise that the style of that regno hides a desire for the cryptic affirmation of Julius II's power over the Italian territory. This is a part, no? The circlet, you can see there. So the three crowns are just only circlet. 1, 3, 2, 3, okay. And you can see there, in comparison with the two famous crowns, very old crown. I mean, those simple circlets of bejeweled gold, in fact, recall a crown with which the emperors of the Holy Roman Empire were crowned kings of Italy. The iron crown of Lombardy, a small gold crown, this one, a small gold crown still existed, probably late antique, but refashioned in the Carolingian era, inside of which tradition had it that one of the nails from the crucifixion of Christ was inserted. I use the drawings in the Tolman collection just to have a right comparison, and not the photos of the actual. Exactly like the venerated relic, the three circlets of Julius II's Tiara, in addition to not having projecting points, were characterized by a covering decoration of jewels set in the center of a four-petal floral created in enamel. Although, in comparison with the small crown still preserved among the treasures of Monza Cathedral, the chromium of the base is different, red and dark blue rather than green and light blue. The third one is the Teodolinda crown. And both these crowns are still in Monza, and Caradosso, that lives in Milan, possibly saw them. But this association is reinforced if we remember that when Charles V was crowned by Clement VII with the iron crown of Lombardy in Bologna in 1530, to stop it sliding off his head, he used a conical headgear very similar to a tiara, as can be seen in the painting, by Vasari in Palazzo Vecchio in Florence. You can see. This is the Pope with his tiara, and this is the Lombardy crown at the base of a strange hat. The exceptionality of the choice is further confirmed by the fact that, though Julius II's tiara was clearly the inspiration behind that of his successor, Pope Paul III, also documented in a drawing commissioned by Tolman for his collection. In the case of the latter, the 3 crowns once again had rosettes, which in fact became the fleur-de-lis of the family, as is clearly emphasized by their realization in blue enamel. And later, Pope Clement VII and later more Urban VIII completely come back to the old style Tiara. In Julius II's Tiara, the jewels set in the 3 crowns are jacinths, zircons, rubies, ballads, and sapphires. So again, there is the alternation of the colors red and blue seen in the enamels, while inserted into the space between them, completely covered in big pearls, there are rubies or spinels, again sapphires, some very big shaped pearls, and several diamonds. And then emeralds and sapphires. Thus, the regno is encrusted with all the jewels favored by the symbology of papal power, from the diamond, precious gem par excellence, a sign of royalty, invulnerability, and perfection, and therefore evocative of God himself, to the emerald, stone of hope, one of the 3 theological virtues, to the sapphire, representation of the kingdom of God, to the ruby, linked with charity from the blood spilled by Christ. And Christ and the Eucharist are evoked by the pearls so extensively used. As far back as the 6th century, one of the Venanzio Fortunato's hymns contained the words, "the immense pearl of the body of the Lamb." So the pearl is Christ. That beyond the personal passion of Julius II, the appearance of the papal regalia was abundantly marked by the demands of symbolism, is confirmed by the fact that during his pontificate, we have its first codification by his master of ceremonies, Paride de' Grassi, who in 1506 began writing the Opusculum Ceremoniarum today in the Vatican Library. In this text, other than the tiara, we also find an accurate description of the cope molds in the specific shape reserved for the Pope. The Pope's spectacle is octagonal, almost round, like the shape of the world, and has at its center 5 precious stones arranged according to the shape of the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, who is our rational, our doctrine, and our truth, reminding us in particular how His Holiness Julius II had a very precious one made, valued at an incredible 80 million gold coins. This is evidently the one executed again in like manner by Caradosso, with the 4 doctors of the Church depicted in gold around a pyramid-shaped diamond, purchased by the Pope for 22,500 gold scudi, possibly depicted in a simplified way in a printed portrait of the Pope now in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. You say, very simplified. The object is described in an inventory of 1521, which specifies the presence of a diamond at the point, 2 sapphires big with 8 facets, 2 rubies in square blocks, and 4 emeralds, 2 in blocks and 2 with facets. The specifications indicated by Paride de' Grassi seem to have been accurately followed by, please, sorry, there. Oh, sorry, I missed one of my, oh, just on the back, sorry. So, the specification indicated by Paride de Gracis seems to have been accurately followed through with originality and ingenuousness by Cellini when he was appointed by Clement VII in 1529 to produce a brand new cope malts from the jewels formerly used by Caradosso for that of Julius II, which had been pawned by his successors and then redeemed by Clement. As has been revealed by Denise Allen in her essay designed by the Dictates of Ceremonies, Cellini's Cope Malts for Clement VII, Cellini's adherence to Paride de Gracis indications can be seen in particular in the arrangement of the 8 jewels, which suggests an octagon inside the gold circlet, and in the cross formed by the central diamond and the 4 emeralds that were placed at the 4 cardinal points of the morts. The drawings that Bartoli did for Talmon, as well as allowing us to see the visual impact of the lost object, well known throughout Cellini descriptions, also tell us that, at least in the decoration of the age, the collection of images dominated by gargoyles and sphinxes remains free from the constraints of the ceremonial, just as on the back, where it indulges in the celebration of family with the Medici's coat of arms as absolute protagonist. But it's certain that in the central figure of God the Father seated on the diamond, Cellini surpasses every liturgical prescription in a formidable combination of revealed truth and ingenious formal solution. Thank you.